Greetings and welcome to our today's news bulletin here on Luntha television. My name is Brennan Manza. Our top stories in this edition. Pope Francis prays for storm victims in Central and Eastern Europe. CCJP calls on citizens to actively engage in electoral process, starting with voter registration. Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority cracks down on non-compliant companies. In other news, UN Security Council calls for an end of violence in Sudan. We have these and other stories. Please stay there. Pope Francis has assured victims of Storm Boris of his closeness, saying at the weekly Legion audience that he is praying especially for those who have lost their lives and for their families. At least 21 people have been killed as heavy rains and snows have caused extensive damage in Austria, Romania, the Czech Republic, Poland, and other Central and Eastern European nations. Thousands of people have been evacuated in areas affected by the storms, with Poland's Prime Minister declaring a month-long state of emergency. We have a Vatican News report being read by Herbert Katanda.
The Polish city of Warrock, with a population of more than 600,000 people, is expected to see flooding on Wednesday, while Bratislava and Budapest, the capitals respectively of Slovakia and Hungary, are bracing for rising waters on the Danube River. Pope Francis also looked ahead to the observance on Saturday, 21st September, of World Armisier Day. He called for prayers that medical science might soon be able to offer prospects for a cure for this disease, and so that more and more appropriate action will be taken to support sufferers and their families. The World Day is a global effort to raise awareness and challenge the stigma around the disease and forms the dementia that afflict more than 55 million people worldwide. In particular, greetings to the groups present for the general audience. Pope Francis welcomed especially those taking part in the Congress of Abbots of the Benedictine Confederation and to their new abbot primate, who was elected on Saturday, the 14th of September. He encouraged all of them to commit themselves with charitable and missionary zeal to making the Benedictine spirit ever more relevant in the world. The Pope also had words of greetings and encouragement for the lay Carmelites, urging them to be a leaven of the gospel, reaching out to the most vulnerable in order to become a sign of a church that is always going forth.
Herbert Katanda with the Vatican News report. The Catholic Commission for Justice and Peace, CCJP, has called on citizens in the country to actively engage in the electoral processes for the 2025 general elections to strengthen democracy and shape the future of Malawi. In a media statement issued earlier today and signed by CCJP National Coordinator Boniface Chibwana, the Commission has emphasized the critical role of the voter registration period as a crucial step in the democratic process. CCJP has also emphasized the importance of the eligibility of individuals validly registered with National Registration Bureau (NRB) for the 2025 general elections, saying it will help ensure the integrity of the electoral process. Chibwana explains more to our reporter Charity Chilanga.
Active citizenship. If you talk about good governance, our democracy is a representative democracy, whereby we choose the leaders that should represent the majority of the people. And if people don't go out in large numbers to choose those leaders, then we see a bit of deficiency in our democracy. And that's why we released that statement calling upon the people to go out in large numbers to go and register. We know that in the electoral calendar of May, voter registration is that big activity within the calendar that people should really come out in large numbers and register.
The Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority (PPDA) has suspended 8 companies from participating in public procurement processes effective September 9th, 2024. According to a press release by the authority, the suspended companies include LA Construction, Lloyd Auto Parts and General Dealers, Let's Build It, Weto Stationery, among others. PPDA spokesperson Kate Kujaliwa has told us that the authority is mandated by the Act of 2017 to suspend or debar non-compliant bidders, suppliers, contractors, consultants, or service providers. She explains more to our reporter Emmanuel Chocha.
That statement, as you have seen, it is saying that those companies that have been listed on that statement have been found to be contravening the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Act or law. Therefore, the punitive measures that have been given to them are in line with the law. So basically, some of the infringements that have happened is that they submitted false documentation, while some of them presented fake MRA tax clearance certificates, which is also against the law, not just the PPD Act, but also tax laws in the country. So being found guilty, a process was taken, a revision was done, they were summoned, and a determination was also made.
The Principal Secretary for the Ministry of Trade, Christina Zakeo, has revealed that Malawi's revenue collection at the Mchinji Mwami one-stop border post has surged from 1 billion kwacha to 3 billion kwacha per month. Zakeo made the announcement on Wednesday during a media engagement on project visibility at the Mchinji Mwami one-stop border post. Bridget Manoga has compiled a report being read by Tandiwe Mzumara.
In an interview, Zakeo emphasized the advantages of the border post, noting that it has greatly reduced business costs, saving around 1.2 million Malawi kwacha in demurrage fees that transporters used to pay. She also mentioned that the time required for processing at the border has been cut down from 8 days to just 48 hours. Zakeo added that the Ministry of Trade serves a key facilitative role, and this COMESA project has brought about several notable improvements at the Mwami border.
This certificate of origin, and it's going to be electronic, and what it means is we'll no longer be doing things manually, and our colleagues in the Malawi Revenue Authority, and we also expect our private sector, I think, to adopt this particular system, because apart from the electronic certificate of origin, I think we are also soon going live.
Mchinji Border Post Station Manager Tapiwa Mzunga acknowledged the progress but highlighted a decline in export volumes, primarily due to unfavorable weather conditions. She explained that this year they are only exporting soya pieces and chicken, whereas they typically export more agricultural products like soya beans and groundnuts, but poor rainfall has impacted production.
In terms of exportation, we are not exporting much as compared to the volumes that are being imported. Basically, when the years are good, we export a lot of agricultural products, but this year the exports volumes have reduced.
Mzunga further disclosed that Malawi is set to launch a pilot for the electronic certificate of origin by November this year as part of a broader COMESA initiative involving 23 member states. The one-stop border post, inaugurated by Zambian President Hakainde Hichilema and Malawian President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera on the 7th of December 2022, has been praised as a transformative development for the country's trade sector.
You're watching the news bulletin here on Luntha television, and now a reminder of our top stories. Pope Francis prays for storm victims in Central and Eastern Europe. CCJP calls on citizens to actively engage in electoral process, starting with voter registration. Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority cracks down on non-compliant companies. In other news, UN Security Council calls for an end to violence in Sudan. Welcome back, and you're with me, Bernard Mansa. Moving on, the community health rights advocacy has underscored the critical role of the media in raising awareness on HIV treatment and prevention in the country. The organization's programs manager, Alex Kaumba, has made the sentiments today in Lilongwe during the closure of a 2 days to the media training aimed at equipping journalists with skills on the linkage between HIV treatment and prevention and issues of human rights. Charity Tlanga reports.
Kaumba stressed the importance of the training in reducing stigma and discrimination among people living with HIV and AIDS in the country. He underscored the role of the media in spreading information, raising awareness, and providing civic education to the citizens of the country. Among other things, he commended the country for making significant strides in the reduction of HIV prevalence in the past 10 years, from 12% to 6%. Kaumba attributed the success to the space created for different players in the national response.
It is very important. As you know, it depends on the media to spread information, raise awareness, and provide civic education to the population in Malawi, to the general population. So if the media is not well trained, does not understand the linkages that are there between the issues of human rights and HIV, we'll be doing a disservice to Malawians who deserve to know or to receive information on HIV, and who also deserve to receive services in our health facilities.
One of the participants from Timven Youth and Child Media, Meklina Shira, expressed gratitude for the training, saying it has highlighted on the right terminologies used in reporting issues of HIV and AIDS.
In the first place, the training has been an eye-opener to us journalists, especially on how we can report on human rights. You will agree with me that the issue of human rights is very important, but neglected.
The training is part of Key Populations Integrated HIV and Human Rights Project that Shera is implementing with support from United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, through the SCALE initiative.
The first woman to be at the helm of Old Mutual Group as the Chief Executive Officer, Edith Gia, has been promoted to the managing director, rather to be the managing director for the retail mass market in South Africa. A statement from the group dated 18th September says, under her leadership as the CEO, the business has grown swiftly as a key player in the financial service industry in Malawi, with introduction of innovative offerings on the market. Confirming the development to Luntha television, Old Mutual Malawi Marketing and Corporate Affairs Executive Patience Chatsiga says processes to fill the vacancy are underway and will be announced. Robert Edward reports.
According to the statement, Edith Gia joined Old Mutual Malawi in 2011 as general manager for the life insurance company before being promoted to be at the helm of the group in 2017, being the first woman to head the financial institution. She will now be going to South Africa as the managing director for the mass market within the Mass Foundation cluster of Old Mutual from 1st November this year. The statement in the local press has since quoted GIA saying it has been a pleasure to serve the people of Malawi through a brand that strives to improve people's financial well-being. Marketing and Corporate Affairs Executive for Old Mutual Malawi, Patience Chatsika, confirmed the transition to Luntha television, saying the development demonstrates the group's wide talent management capacity. Women empowerment lobbyists have since described the triumph of GIA as a demonstration of professional and high standards that sets a yardstick of clean achievements of a woman, defeating stereotypes and gender challenges. For Luntha, this is Robert Edward.
In other news, on Wednesday afternoon, the UN Security Council discussed the current humanitarian crisis in Sudan, more than 16 months of war. UN Assistant Secretary General for Africa, Martha Ama Akia Pobe, said the current wave of fighting marks the latest chapter of violence in El Fasher and occurs amidst a months-long siege and attack on the city at the hands of the Rapid Support Forces. African News report here is being read by Hilbert Katanda.
Martha Ama also said that this has caused appalling levels of suffering for the civilian population, including famine conditions in Zamzam Camp, South El Fasher, among other locations. Sudan was plunged into chaos in April last year when simmering tensions between the military and a powerful paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces, exploded into open warfare across the country. The conflict has turned the capital Khartoum and other urban areas into battlefields, wrecking civilian infrastructure and an already battered health care system. Without the basics, many hospitals and medical facilities have closed their doors. The country, which has gone through the shocks of civil war and climate change, is in need of humanitarian aid, with an estimated 9 million people, 73% of the country's population, projected to be in need of humanitarian assistance during 2024, according to the 2024 UN Humanitarian Needs Overview for South Sudan.
Well, on that note, we have also come to the end of our 7:30 news bulletin here on Luntha Television. Before we go, a recap of our main stories. Pope Francis prays for storm victims in Central and Eastern Europe. CCJP calls on citizens to actively engage in electoral process, starting with voter registration. Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority cracks down on non-compliant companies. In other news, UN Security Council calls for an end of violence in Sudan. You have been with me, Brennan Mwanza. Thank you so much for being there, and continue watching the rest of our programs here on Luntha Television. Goodbye.